Hello, and welcome back to the Learn English Fast podcast. I'm your host, Eli. Thank you so much for listening or watching today. As usual, the transcript for this episode and the vocabulary list for this episode is down in the description. Please take a look if you want to practice more of your English. All right, so today's topic is adjusting to life in Japan. I have been living here in Japan for the past 3 years, and I live in a city nearby Osaka. I first came here as an English teacher, but I want to share a little bit about my Japanese background. When I was first living in Taiwan, at that time, I had a desire to come visit Japan because Japan was so close and I wanted to come see it for myself. When I was a boy, sometimes I would watch some anime, sometimes I would read some manga, but I really did not know anything at all about Japanese culture. So, when I had a chance, I took a plane from Taiwan and I went all the way to Osaka. And then from there, I went to Kyoto and I was living there just for 1 week, just to visit and see the culture and the different temples around and the people. And I loved it. I really did. But the problem for me was I could not speak the language. I was not able to really connect with the people there. And so I really wanted to make good relationships with the people. So after that, I decided, okay, I'm going to start to practice some Japanese. I really want to grasp this language. So I started to learn the basics of Japanese. First, the hiragana, the katakana, and a little bit of kanji, their alphabets, just the basic stuff. But I was never very good at speaking with them. But I used an app called Hello Talk, and then I found some Japanese partners that really helped me grow in the language. Now, after I left Taiwan and went back to America, I was thinking about where should I go next? What place should I go? And Japan was always on my mind, and I really wanted to live here long term. So I just looked online to see, okay, what type of jobs can I find? And the most common one, of course, is English teacher. And I've been teaching English for more than 6 years. I was at the time I was teaching as well online. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I can find an English teaching job, in Japan somewhere. So I applied for so many places, but no one would accept me. Ah, yeah, maybe my English wasn't good enough. I'm just joking. But it was during the time of COVID, so it was very difficult for different companies to hire. But I was able to find one. There was this English school in a place called Shukugawa. Shukugawa. And Shukugawa is it's in the main area of Nishinomiya. And it's not that big of a city, but it's very, very, it's very beautiful. And the cherry blossoms in that city are amazing. And so I was able to connect with this English school, and I taught their students English online for the first year because I wasn't able to get a visa to go to Japan because of Corona. So it was such a difficult time. But after 1 year of teaching online, finally, the borders were open for some people. And I was able to get a teaching visa or a working visa to work at that school. So I was so thankful to be able to come to Japan. And I came during the month of March. And it was March 2022, I believe. And it was amazing. I came during the cherry blossoms. I was able to see the beautiful sakura trees, the cherry blossoms, but there were so many people. But that's okay. And when I first came here, I didn't really have any friends. I had no connections, only the different teachers at my job. But I decided I really want to make Japanese friends. So I would go out early in the morning. I would wake up at 6 o'clock and I would run every day to a park nearby my home. And in the park, there are so many grandpas and grandmas who are exercising and doing their radio calisthenics, their morning exercise, every single day. So I would go there every day and I would talk with them, and they would talk with me. This is the same thing I did when I lived in China, just to make relationships. Because, making relationships is not something that just happens right away. Relationships need consistency. Consistency means to continue to do something. If you want to have good relationships, you need to be consistent. Say hi to that person every day. Go do this thing every day. And I found that, relationships take time, whether that's for friendships or even romantic relationships. It doesn't always happen just like that. It takes time. So every day I would go, and slowly I gained more friends. I also became some friends with my students at the school, and because I was teaching adults, some children, but mainly adults. And I would talk with them, and eventually they invited me out for dinner. We went out to different locations, to different like aquariums. It was such a great time. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the culture in Japan. So, again, I lived in Taiwan and I lived in China, and I was in Taiwan for a while. And I would say the culture is a little bit similar to Taiwan. Again, if you're Taiwanese or Japanese, don't get angry. I'm not saying exactly the same, just a little bit similar. For example, like if you're on the train, people tend to be quiet. No one's really speaking out so much. And there's just this feeling of respect in the culture. And so I really appreciated that. So that it wasn't really like a big culture shock for me. I was able to adjust pretty quickly. But the one thing that was very difficult for me, and even now it's still kind of difficult, is the idea of tatemai. Tatemai. And tatemai, I don't know how to really explain this in English. It's kind of not really saying what you are really feeling. For example, if you go to work and you see your boss, you don't like your boss. You hate him, but you still say, "Ah, boss, good morning. I'm so happy to see you." Like you're not really saying exactly what you're thinking. And for making relationships in that kind of environment, it was sometimes a little bit difficult for me because I felt like I did not really understand what they are trying to tell me. Like, again, I understand their words, but are they telling me the truth? Is this their real opinion? I'm the type of person where I like to be very clear about relationships. I like to be very clear when I'm speaking. It's my job. I'm an English teacher. I have to be clear. And so sometimes if they would say something to me and I would misunderstand, it kind of made me feel a little bit sad and sometimes a little bit angry. Because I was thinking, come on, just speak with me directly. Just tell me what you think. I won't be angry. And so that was something that took me a little while to get used to, but now I kind of understand, but it's still kind of difficult to, I guess, for me to still make some relationships with the people here. But again, it's not a bad thing. Every culture is different. Every culture has something good. Every culture has something, that's gray, in the gray area. Not good and not bad. It's gray. Then, of course, some cultures have something bad. Something bad. you know? Yeah, and so what else do I want to say about Japan? I would say my favorite thing, again, first the people, but my second favorite thing about Japan would definitely be the food. I love to eat different types of food. I am not a picky eater. I am not picky at all. I love to eat something new, and I especially love sweets. And there are so many different kinds of sweet shops here. And one of my hobbies is going to different like cake shops and trying different cakes. I exercise every day, so it's okay, no problem. But I love trying new foods. What type of foods do you guys enjoy? Write them down in the comments, huh? Yeah, and when I was here as well, let's talk about the language. So I was practicing here in Japan, and I had some language partners that I would talk to every week. But I found the best way that I can grow my Japanese was, again, the technique of shadowing. Shadowing. I said this in the last episode. I said this in the first episode. Shadowing is so useful. Maybe not for everyone, but for me in particularly, shadowing, it was so useful for growing my Japanese because there were some phrases or some sounds I just couldn't say or I just couldn't hear. So being able to listen to a phrase again and again and then copy. That really helped me be able to understand the language better and to have more confidence in speaking the language with my Japanese friends. Another thing I really learned is not to be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are okay. If I'm not perfect speaking, that's okay. No one is perfect at the beginning. Everything takes time. So I really just want to encourage you, if you're learning a language, take your time. You don't have to go so fast. I know this is called Learn English Fast, but again, take your time and don't worry if you make a mistake. Just keep moving forward, keep growing, learn from the mistake, and grow from it. And understand you will make some mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. All right, yeah, so that's about it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe if you want. And if you have any suggestions for a future episode, please leave a comment down below and I'll try to do that idea. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.